I call them the vegan warriors.
That's real.
That means they don't eat meat or animal products.
How about microscopic creatures?
They may not be as vegan as they think they are.
Oh, nasty!
Bacteria, vermin, clutter, and hidden hazards. It's a case for the Kitchen Crimes Unit. They gather evidence, identify suspects, and with $5,000, fix the kitchen to prevent future crime. These musicians are a tight trio. More than roommates, they're like brothers. Whether they're searching for harmony on the stage or in the kitchen watching over a 2-year-old.
We're in dire need of more space. When we come home and we're all hungry at the same time, well, then we all need to cook at the same time.
Lots of bumping, lots of shoving, but we managed.
We can clearly work as a team unit, but if we don't have to push ourselves to the limit of our team every time I want to eat, that would be, basically perfect.
Who gets what element? Pots are going on the small elements, frying pans on the big ones.
Real.
Soon enough, we'll have some stuff for you, my man.
An efficiency system of some sort, and child safety is an important issue because of my son being in the kitchen very often.
Pretty good, dude. He can borrow my drum kit whenever he needs, Cam.
Bumps, bruises, burns.
That definitely is. That one's a burn right across the vein. Oh! We need oven mitts, and that's for real.
It truly is a war zone. Into the danger zone.
Oh!
When Bro's over, he went over here to spit something out in the garbage. Leaned over, spit it out, and then at top speed just came up and if you're new around here, you could have a lot of problems in the back of the head.
Cupboard space is pretty minimal with the amount of cereal boxes that we have kicking around. Doesn't matter.
It's right there, just open it up.
I've dropped that blender, as you can see, quite a few times. That's not so good anymore with the duct tape on it.
Recycling seems to be an issue. We haul this stuff by bag, but instead of bringing one item at a time, we let it pile up on the kitchen floor. Once a week, we take out the recycling. We promise. I'm pretty sure there's some things that we don't even know about that are wrong with our kitchen. What do you think, Bud?
I invoke the Fifth. Can't testify on the grounds that I might incriminate myself.
Do we have a Fifth Amendment in Canada?
Oh, I don't know. It's only on.
We've been watching too much American TV.
It's not the worst ever, but clearly it could use some work.
Who should we call? Kitchen Crime Stars?
Rob and Marina arrive on the scene of the crime to gather evidence they'll need to make their case.
I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Between this huge table, the microwave, the overhead cupboards just in the middle of the room, there is no flow in this kitchen at all. Nice. What's with this?
This is my Kitchen Crimes Unit Light. It's going to help me see in the little corners. The blender that's been through the war and back. Duct tape. Well, the interior of this blender doesn't appear to be washed at all. And there's a crack on the side here. I'll be quite anxious to see what I find on this swab.
And the storage techniques inside this cupboard leave a lot to be desired. Rob, take a look at this old sink. In pretty good shape. It's just filthy.
No, I'm going to see what's growing between the seal here and the counter and the sink.
Every appliance known to man out on the little cleanup area. Definitely storage is an issue, if this is what they're calling the recycling.
Oh, look at this heat vent. Look how dirty it is.
Do you see the veggie slices container down there?
No, is there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, it's gonna act like an incubator, slowly heating and cooking that. Oh, that's not good.
I'm surprised you didn't bonk your noggin on this getting up. Did you notice this is a mobile counter?
Is it really?
Oh, nasty.
They should do hard time for this crime. Doesn't one of the vegan boys have a 2-year-old child?
What I know about 2-year-olds, they love to pick stuff off the floor and eat it.
They're curious, right?
You bet.
This biohazard container should not be beside food. In fact, it shouldn't be in the kitchen. What do you think?
Well, I don't think we know enough about what's going on, and we're gonna need to understand the situation and then find a spot for it.
It's quite evident that the germs are winning in this battlefield. We're gonna have some tough questions for them.
Let's go find those vegan warriors and figure out what's going on in here.
Next, behind enemy lines of the germ war zone. The kitchen is a minefield of clutter and germs. These 3 vegan warriors are outnumbered, with no battle plan to fight bacteria. Health Inspector Rob Mancini and interior designer Marina Hildebrand must come up with a war room strategy.
So who's the father?
I am.
You're the father?
Yeah, I'm the father.
So Cam, you have a 2-year-old. Do you have any concerns as a parent just with having your son over, spending time in the kitchen at all?
Making sure that the kitchen is child safe is an important issue. So, to us, we hide the knives.
How often do you guys use that blender that's on the counter?
At least twice a day.
And how do you wash the blender?
Just a little bit of water, you swish it around some. Sometimes you hit blend again with the water in there, which does a pretty good job.
Are you concerned that there may be bacteria in the blender, or?
I don't know.
For the record, I don't make food for my son in the blender.
Where's the lid for the blender anyways?
I don't use that lid. I use my hand.
3 big, hulking vegan warriors in that one itty-bitty kitchen. How do you manage?
Preferably at separate times, but when it's all at the same time, well, it's bump and grind, so.
It's either waiting and cursing or struggling.
Do you actually eat at that table?
Breakfast is at the table.
Okay.
And Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving dinner is at that table, and probably 99% of the other meals are probably in the living room.
Okay. I was wondering if it was maybe because you can actually sit at the table and open the oven door at the same time.
Well, there's that problem as well. But right here, that's the last burn mark from trying to squeeze in. When he sits down, that's his spot, and he's always there. He's the official oven blocker.
Whose spot?
Well, especially when it's a needle time.
What does that mean?
When I got to give myself a needle for the hemophilia.
Would you say that that's something that we should plan for in the kitchen?
For when I have to give myself my factor for hemophilia, I just put like all the used needles in that, and my clotting factor is lower than the average person's, so I only do it when I get hurt. And when I get hurt and I get a bleed, then I treat. When I'm done, I usually take it out and put it back in my room.
Do you have any specific concerns about the bacteria in the kitchen?
I'll take like an alcohol swab and I'll rub down where I'm gonna go beforehand, so you know there's no bacteria or germs and such on there, but some of us have queasier stomachs than others, so.
It's true.
I do actually have malabsorption syndrome, an agitated colon. I am very sensitive to bacteria. My stomach doesn't have the natural bacteria to fight the other bacteria. That's my issue. I get terribly sick.
Vegan by choice, vegan by food allergy, vegan by food allergy. So,
it's a war zone.
Well, I took swabs throughout your whole kitchen. Marina took a series of pictures.
And measurements.
And now we're gonna go back to the Kitchen Crimes Unit lab. We're gonna do the analysis, and we're gonna come back with the results.
Well, let's get out of here.
See you guys later.
These 3 bachelors are brewing up more than just protein shakes in the blender. They're actually brewing up Citrobacter species. It's an opportunistic pathogen, which means if it has an opportunity to infect, it will. Every human has host defenses against bacteria. Your skin is a defense, your immune system is a defense. If your immune system is compromised, or if you break the skin, there's an opportunity for infection. You won't believe this. Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
What does that mean?
Again, another opportunistic pathogen, but this one is dreaded and deadly. Now, what's interesting is I found Pseudomonas in 5 different places. The seal between the counter and the sink, the interior of the fridge, interior of the blender, the counter seam, and the backsplash. It actually produces a biofilm. And what that is, it's an alginate slime matrix that make it resistant to disinfectants and even antibiotics.
So what's contributing to that?
No sanitation. This is something you usually isolate in a whirlpool.
And how does it get into the blender?
It could come from a variety of sources. It could come from their hands. Remember, they were using their hand as the lid. They don't even wash the blender.
It's a pretty scary picture you're painting, considering that 2 of the 3 roommates have a compromised immune system. Do you really think they're putting themselves at risk?
I honestly do.
Ooh, it's tough to pass through that area between the table and the microwave.
No, it's too packed in there.
Yeah.
We're gonna really need to child-proof that kitchen too, right?
You're absolutely right. And that misplaced microwave is at the top of my list. Preschoolers will try to climb anything that gives them a foothold.
Do you think that Daniel's big enough to pull that microwave down on top of himself?
It would only take a second.
Let's not forget the hassle for the warriors too.
Exactly. What it really does is it minimizes the flow through space in the kitchen. That has got to go. 3 big vegan warriors, 1 tiny kitchen. This is a problem. It really presents a challenge when the table is that close to the stove. The other thing, the stove is up against the wall, and you know I dislike that.
Because of no counter space beside the stove, right?
Exactly. Aaron has enough difficulty getting into this stove without burning himself. So I'm going to open up that space.
For the 3 vegan warriors.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, this concludes our investigation. It's now time to deliver the verdict.
Next, busted. These bachelors are about to lose the smiles from their faces. They're charged with bacterial break-in, obstruction of workspace, germ trafficking, and microwave misdemeanor. The verdict is in.
Let's get down to business. See this blender here? Actually isolated Citrobacter species and Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
Can we get that in English, please?
Yeah. 2 different types of bacteria. Some species of Citrobacter can actually cause diarrhea. Pseudomonas can cause urinary tract infections, skin, eye, ear infections. It can get pretty nasty. And if it's left untreated, it can be actually deadly. We found it in 5 different areas in your kitchen, which means it's a really hardy organism. It's traveling everywhere. And this crack in the blender doesn't help anyone. That's gonna harbor the bacteria.
Looks like we got a new member of the household.
How does it get there in the first place?
Simple as it could be lack of hand washing. The bacteria that we did find in your kitchen belongs to the family Enterobacteriaceae. Entero meaning intestinal gut of humans or animals.
You're hinting to us that the people that lived here 2.5 years before us when they were eating meat, it got here from animal intestines and nothing to do with our washroom habits. That's exactly what I'm hearing.
I heard the same thing.
That's 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm going to jump in. There's a couple concerns I have. First of all, Cam, for you and Daniel. A 2-year-old, he's getting stronger all the time. He could yank this off of this microwave stand in a split second and you wouldn't even know what happened.
It's actually a great thing to point out because he does play with it all the time. He doesn't know how to turn it on yet, but he opens the door.
And he's pretty strong. How many times have you guys bonked your head on this set of cabinets?
I know I have.
Guaranteed that I've done it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. It was probably pretty hard then.
I'm going to work with you to provide some solution on how to better store your groceries. I don't know how you guys find anything in here. I know you
We
manage.
know there is some room in the cupboards, but it's just crowded.
Right.
We're in dire need of more space.
With as little preparation space as we have, this is a real problem. It's not the best use at all for counter space. It's being used as really storage space. The stove is crammed into the corner You don't have any space. You have this mobile counter and stuff is growing back there, you guys. Oh, nasty.
And that's why we're here. Just want to make sure it's safe for everybody in the house.
We're anxious to see what you got in mind.
It'll be high fives all around once you see what the kitchen crimes unit has done for us.
True.
If the suspects mend their kitchen criminal ways, $5,000 will rehabilitate this crime scene and win the war against germs.
Oh, look at all this garbage and slew in these pipes.
Goodbye. Above the sink, we'll put the dishes there.
Well, Marina, it looks fantastic in here.
Next, the crime-free and child-proof kitchen.
Holy man.
A bacteria-laden blender, slimy pods of traveling toxic germs, a 2-year-old who doesn't know his own strength, and an obstacle course in the kitchen that just didn't work. Kitchen crime fighters Rob and Marina are put to the test.
Hey, you did it again.
Thanks.
Looks fantastic in here.
Well, equally as importantly, it's going to be easy to keep clean. We've taken care of your concerns, and I think
you.
we've addressed everyone.
Fantastic.
Come on in, you guys.
How? Wow.
There we go.
Holy man.
I'll take it. That's not going to complain. That's what I'm talking about.
Kitchen Crimes Unit wants to present you with something. There we go.
That'll work.
Very nice.
No cracks.
No duct tape?
No duct tape. There you go.
That's awesome.
And my friend, it's got a lid.
Oh, the lid?
Now remember, you do have to change your personal habits. Make sure it's properly washed after every use, not just rinse. And then we're going to submerge it in a little bit of bleach and water, about a capful in 4 liters of water. You submerge it for 2 minutes, let it go, let it air dry afterwards.
Okay, fair enough.
No
Sounds
more
good.
hands.
All right. I promise I'll use the lid.
Remember all the appliances that we had on the counter? I don't like that. The counter should be used as prep space, and cupboard space should be used as storage. So what we did, most cereal ever in a house, but behind the cereal, how often do you use the deep fryer?
Not very often these days.
If you're not using it very often, this deep storage is great for it. So it's stored back there. You can grab it when you need it, infrequently, but it's still there. And your daily breakfast items, right there.
Present you with your sanitation tools. This is what you're going to need. Now, what we have in here, 2 cups of water, 4 drops of bleach. That's all you need. You're gonna have to use a little scrub, a little elbow grease, because that bacteria I talked about, that Pseudomonas, it likes to produce that biofilm that it's really hard to get rid of. So when you spray, use a little bit of elbow grease and really get in there, okay? Now, your backsplash, we had a concern there. We found some Pseudomonas between that there was a little gap between the counter and the backsplash where they meet. We solved that problem. New backsplash, properly sealed. It's gonna prevent any growth or any attraction to bacteria there. And I can't stress the importance whenever you are preparing any food or doing anything, just to wash your hands.
You really didn't have a prep zone earlier. You had a table at a lower height, but not really a prep zone. We've installed about another 30%, maybe a bit more, of counter space for you to use as prep zone. And in that prep zone, we keep things like our Kitchen Crimes blender, but we're gonna be storing it down here. So small appliance storage is part of your prep zone. So then, of course, we have our cook zone. We mounted the microwave in the cook zone. This wall, we have all your food products and grocery items.
Now see that. That right there. That's how you organize stuff.
Look way up here, way far away from you. We have something that Corey needs, way up here. So Corey, this is where I've designated your spot for the sharps container, and it's easier for you because you don't have to run back and forth to your room.
It's true. It all works.
I really want that bleach and water to be your new best friend. That's what you're going to use, and you're going to have a nice, clean, sanitary kitchen.
And it's gonna work too.
For you, we can
Clean kitchen. There you go. He's got some strength.
Okay, I think we're out of here.
Yep. Oh, hey.